Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, etc., depending on where you are in the world. How is everybody? Looks like, oh, hello, Chocolala. How are you doing today? Oh, you turn 70 tomorrow. Well, happy almost birthday. That's fantastic. Glad you're doing okay and that you're doing your best to heal there. And our thoughts are with you. But yes, happy almost birthday. And thanks for being our number one fan here at Choc Live with the CHOQTOR. Let's see. Yes, you are very welcome. Very, very welcome. And it's great. Looks like you said you've stopped eating dairy, eggs, refined sugar. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're feeling better. Fantastic. Well, good for you. Very, very cool. Well, man, I got to tell you guys, it's been an interesting day. I'm in a bit of a mood. Let's see if I can transform this into something helpful. You ever have those days when you're feeling kind of ornery and where you're just like things just kind of get on your nerves more than usual? I'm kind of having one of those days. I'm not like outright angry where I'm like shouting at people, but kind of just one of those more intense days. And people who are more spiritual, a lot of us are kind of told we have this idea that. Hey, what's up, Sam? This idea that, we're not supposed to be angry, which of course is silly because, we're humans and humans are naturally going to have the full range of emotions. Regardless of how spiritual we are, we should always allow ourselves to be human, And it's funny because, I will tell you flat out, I honestly, I believe that we are much more than just these bodies, much more than humans, obviously. I'm sure probably a lot of you guys do too. Of course, whatever belief about reality makes sense to you is cool, I'm not trying to tell you should believe something other than what resonates with you. But I personally believe that we are much more than these bodies, of course, and that we do survive bodily death. And that, we are not just human. We are something else. We are spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the reason that it's important to also allow yourself to be a human is I believe we came here to have a human experience. We are in human bodies. And as someone who has studied the human body, physiology, the anatomy, the morphology, the functionality of the different parts of the human body from a cellular level to a gross anatomical level, I will tell you that, well, you know what? We are very limited by our biology. We are, we are very, very limited by our biology. And there are going to be days when we feel different things for different reasons. Sometimes we feel emotions. Sometimes we feel a certain way because of life circumstances. Maybe we're having a difficult interaction with somebody on an interpersonal level, relationship, whatever it could be, friendship issues, relationship issues, family issues. Could be that. Or one day, maybe our testosterone is in the gutter, right? And maybe we just feel more irritable and less calm and confident than we could. Obviously, Choc, clearly, we love testosterone at Choc, right? And not just for men. Women also need testosterone, of course. Like some of the adaptogenic products we put out can support healthy testosterone in women. But anyway, what I'm saying is, though, that it's important. Like how I work the product in there. It's kind of funny, right? Very artful. Have to be, self-reflective on that. It's kind of hilarious. But anyway, but what I'm trying to say is, though, that basically there are days when we're going to feel jacked up, and that can be for a multitude of different reasons. Sometimes it's a social, interpersonal thing, life circumstances, and we feel weird or whatever emotion it is, sad, angry, frustrated, etc. Other times there's a physiological reason. A lot of times it's a combination, right? And of course, there's also energetic reasons. Right now, it's Mercury retrograde. I like to call it Mercury retro grizzle or also Mercury retro frazzle. And I'll just type it in here in all caps. Retro grizzle. You might as well laugh. Of course, there's also Mercury in Gatorade, which is a funny one. And then my favorite, retro frazzle, because it makes you feel frazzled, right? And so communication is so important. When our communication is jacked up, and things are not connecting the way they should, of course, that can be a source of frustration. You know what I mean? Have you ever tried to tell somebody something and they just do not listen to what you're saying. And then you eventually you're like, what is going on? I literally tried to tell you this 3 times. You know what I mean? And of course, I'm sure, we've all been on both sides of that. Maybe for some reason you just can't hear somebody or can't understand somebody. These things happen, But yeah, so there are perfectly biological, mundane reasons why we feel a certain way sometimes. Like I said, our hormones fluctuate. Sometimes your testosterone's in the gutter. Sometimes your dopamine's in the gutter. It's not all just because of what happens to you. And so this gets into, so I'll give you a little example here. What's up, Andreas? Hello, everybody else. Little example. Okay, so if you want to have the most well-rounded perspective, it's important to simultaneously understand the spiritual and the energetic domain and the purely physical domain. And I have found, so I'm somebody who I do my best, I do my best to always find that balance where we have a good balance between the physical and spiritual and understanding what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? So as a practitioner, I've had multiple clients. Last year, I had a whole bunch of clients who were all psychotherapists. It's like all of a sudden the universe was just sending me psychotherapists, I had like 4 or 5. It wasn't that many, you know what I mean? But I only have, I don't talk. I have a pretty part-time practice. I don't talk to that many clients. And so having 4 at one time was a lot. That was like 4 out of the 6 people who I'm talking to, again, part-time, it was not that many people, just here and there. But anyway, so I was like, this is interesting. And I was finding out that quite a few psychotherapists have almost no idea how the brain works. They have very, very little training in neurology, in understanding neurotransmitters, in understanding basic physiology and how it affects mood. And I thought that's kind of a limited, weird perspective, obviously how we grew up and our emotions connected to different sorts of, oh, that looks like spam. We need to delete that, block that person. We go ahead and remove that. Yeah, whoever David Mitchell is. Anyway, so yes, let's see. And let's see here. Put user in the report. Yeah, unwanted commercial content or spam. There we go. Trying to keep the group spam free here, guys. Doing my best. All right, so. But yeah, finding that balance, and sometimes though, trying to figure out why we feel a certain way is also fraught with peril. Andy says those big pharma med schools just push poison. Absolutely, Andy. And the thing is that like the conventional medicine model is extremely materialistic, and it tends to, for the most part, only emphasize our physical selves, not the spiritual as much, right? Not the energetic domains as much, and not even the mental and emotional as much. It just sees us as basically animals. It's highly influenced by scientific materialism, which is one of the things that I like to talk about in some of my blogs and my other content, which I will be talking about, of course, at length, once again, in Stay Human Episode 2, which is a week from right now. So it's going to be next Friday next week, either 4 or 5 p.m. I think we're going to stick with 4 p.m. for lighting purposes. But anyway, but you don't want to go to the other side of the spectrum where you also devalue the biological, where you don't actually have any attention whatsoever on hormones, neurotransmitters, things like that, because we are, even though we are more than human and we are not just these bodies, and we are transcendent of them, of course, we are still highly limited by our biological machinery, if you will, although obviously we are not machines, as you know. Like I always say, you are not a machine. So how do we find that balance? You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely something to contemplate. And also, is today one of your more relaxed talks or not? I'm guessing you, Andreas, I'm guessing you're joking. I started off, and Andreas, this might have been before you got here. I started off by saying that today I've been a bit on the ornery side. And I thought, well, if I'm doing a show, I might as well just go with it, And obviously, I'm not going to like be ranting and raving and calling people names and being a generally angry, crazy person. But my thought was, hey, if I'm feeling kind of ornery today, or aggro, or whatever term you want to use. I mean, angry, you could say, sure, whatever, but not like I'm like over the top, like filled with rage, but just kind of ornery, right? Like we all have those days. And I thought, well, how can I use this for the show? Sometimes really what these kinds of moods are, if you're a little bit more aggressive, aggro, as they say, or ornery, is more of a boundary setting thing. It is a boundary setting emotion, right? And so, for example, let's say you have a friend or a family member who is trespassing your boundaries, who is doing things that are not okay, and you're trying to set a boundary, right? Then it might actually make sense, perhaps, if you were to, I'm going to look up a funny meme to break this up here as I'm talking. It makes sense if you were to get a little bit ornery, a little bit upset. Maybe it just means that you need to enforce a boundary. And I think that this is happening on a collective level. This is what's happening. I'm going to need to actually send this to my iPad so I can show you guys. It's kind of funny. But what's happening basically on a collective level, many people are waking up to the fact that they have been manipulated by various powers that be, perhaps, right? Governmental organizations, corporations that maybe do not have our best interest at heart and are trying to manipulate and control us. And so perhaps that could result in a larger quantity of anger, you know what I mean? Being circulated around the planet, right? Because anger is it has to do with boundaries, like I was saying, and so obviously, if you need to set boundaries and you need to tell certain perhaps powers that be, hey, we're not okay with you trying to force us to put things in our body that we don't want in our body. I won't say what that thing is. I'll just say in general, if someone is trying to force you to put something in your body that you don't want to put in your body, then anger is an appropriate boundary setting reaction. So here's my funny meme here. Here we go. I think this is pretty funny. I posted this earlier because I loved it too much. You're like, I just went online just to watch some fun cat videos. And then, of course. But yeah, so if there are people who are pushing you to put something in your body you don't want to put it in, I don't care what it is. The thing doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the thing is and what it does for you and whether it's for the common good or not. If someone's trying to get you to put something in your body and you don't want to put it in your body, as a sovereign being, that is your right to refuse that. And if someone is trying to force that on you, then you have a right to get pissed off. That's normal. That's how it should be. And if we're going to be, so here's the thing. Thich Nhat Hanh, beloved, amazing lighthouse that he was, passed away today. And I actually got a little teary-eyed when I found out. He was 95 years old. My ex-girlfriend was a huge fan. He was one of her favorites. I'm a huge fan. Thich Nhat Hanh, awesome, beautiful Buddhist teacher, Vietnamese Buddhist, 95 years old. I mean, this guy literally hung out with like MLK and stuff. He's got this whole MLK Gandhi vibe thing going, non-violence, all about non-violence, right? And transforming anger, right? Obviously, anger serves a purpose, but anger also is poisonous to the person holding it. So if you overdo it and you're just filled with anger all the time, it's a really bad thing. Anger is a very potentially corrosive and toxic emotion, At the same time, if someone is trying to force something on you and you don't want it, then at least temporarily, as you're dealing with the situation, it might make a lot of sense to temporarily get angry and reinforce a boundary and say, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So there are people in the spiritual domain where they've kind of been taught that being angry is not spiritual, and that we're not allowed to get angry. And that is a huge mistake. Sometimes you have to temporarily get angry, not in a way where you're going to go crazy and hurt people and be violent. Don't do that, of course. But sometimes you have to get a little bit pissed off to break out of a pattern, enforce your boundaries, and move forward. And you don't want to ever get stuck in anger. You want the anger to serve its purpose temporarily. You don't want to get stuck there right? But you also don't want to suppress your anger, pretend it's not there. Sam says explode, not implode, like Ned Flanders. Yeah. So Ned Flanders, Sam, I love that. It's hilarious. Ned Flanders is a great example. Maybe my testosterone levels are too high today. I don't know. Maybe I took too much Tomcat. Could be. But anyway, I love this example from Sam. Explode, not implode, like Ned Flanders. So Ned Flanders, he's like aspiring to be the most spiritual, awake person ever. And he's like an amazing, gentle soul. He's so generous and loving and kind. But at the same time, you have to realize if somebody's trying to be that generous and loving and kind, they probably are repressing their anger. Not always, but it's quite common, right? Because you tell yourself a story in your head that you're supposed to be super duper spiritual and that you're never allowed to get angry, right? And also, yeah, at the same time, like, tell you guys, like, if I, y'all as like my regulars who are tuning in all the time, if I were to, I could potentially only show you certain aspects, of my expression. And if I'm feeling angry, just shift into a different mode and pretend that I'm not, you know what I mean? But at the same time, isn't it nice just to let yourself be a human? It's like, if I'm feeling a bit pissed off today, maybe I'll just let myself be pissed off today. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. Maybe people will be like, oh, I like this version of you. I don't know. I guess it depends, right? It's not helpful to point fingers constantly. Alex Jones, for example, a great example, right? Love him or hate him. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's also one of those folks who makes some good points and has some good information sometimes. He also tends to be kind of over the top, being real bulldog and angry like, right? And, you want to be careful. You don't want to just turn to that person who's always shouting. But at the same time, he must not be named. But at the same time, it's good to have a balance. It's good to let yourself be human sometimes. Again, we're in these human bodies temporarily, but we are in these human bodies. There are lots of different reasons that we might be angry sometimes or sad sometimes. I think the best piece of psychological wisdom, though, is to realize that your emotions are kind of like different gears in a transmission on a car, right? So, you wouldn't want to be in second gear all of the time. The point of a transmission in a healthy, functional automobile that serves its purpose, the point of a transmission is to be able to shift into different gears depending on what kind of speed you're going, what kind of acceleration you need, what kind of terrain you're on, And, most of the time while you're coasting and you're on the freeway, you're going to want to be in one of your highest gears. You know what I mean? You're going to want to be in fifth gear, sixth gear, or whatever. That's normal. While you're going full speed on the highway, most of the time you're going to be in your highest gear. That makes sense. So your default state might be one that's a certain, fairly happy, fairly content, but it's going to shift, right? And there's going to be times when you're going to be in first gear or second gear, right? Emotions are like gears, A person who's psychologically healthy, I believe, has the ability to shift into different gears when appropriate. Sometimes it's appropriate to be sad. If somebody passes away who you're close to, you should be sad, right? Now, you don't want to be so sad for so long that eight months later you can't function, right? Then you might want to figure something out, talk to some healers and some whoever you need to talk to help you out, right? You don't want to get stuck in that, but at the same time, you also don't want to have like, oh, I lost somebody and I'm just going to go about my life and pretend that it didn't happen and not let myself be sad and just be strong, because that's going to cause problems too, right? So there's a time and a place to feel different emotions. And we are part of this collective emotional internet, this psychological mycelium. We're all connected. I, as a person who I guess I could consider myself a bit of an empath, I pick up on all sorts of stuff from other people around me, and I think from the collective, and I think we all do. I think we're all empaths, really. It's not like empaths are special. Maybe some of us are just more sensitive to emotions than others. But if, there are times when I'm feeling a little bit more like intense or frustrated, and I'm wondering, am I picking up on this energy in the collective where people are saying, no, you will not force me to put something in my body, or no, you're not going to devalue our currency anymore to control us, or whatever it is, right? Now I'm starting to get almost into like unplugged territory where I, what my occasional more intense versions of Ask the Choctor. And of course, I haven't hardly talked at all about supplements yet. And if you guys want to ask more questions, feel free. I will get to answering questions in a bit, but I'm less in a question answering supplement kind of mood right now, to be honest. Just kind of going with what I feel, But yeah. And so let me again plug Stay Human episode 2, which is next Friday around the same time. And let me also tell you how this dovetails with all of that. So Meta. What is going on with Meta? What is happening here, guys? I mean, seriously. You guys know, I'm sure as much as anybody else does, the Chalk Nation people know that humanity is in many ways going down the wrong path in terms of trying to merge with technology and allowing technology to penetrate ever more deeply into our bodies and into our minds and into our lives, right? Obviously, we know that. Now, there's nothing necessarily inherently bad about technology. Technology is kind of neutral in and of itself for the most part. One could argue that a nuclear bomb is perhaps not as neutral as, say, a pen. But in general, and we're losing some viewers here. That's okay, though. I don't know. Just going to go for it. So we'll just see what happens. Even if there's only 2 people listening, I'm just gonna keep it real. But so on the positive end, I believe that those of us who are more aware, who understand on a deep soul level that this weird technology thing is not okay at all, that the weirder stuff gets, the more Matrix-life stuff gets. Thank you, Chocolala. I'm glad you're digging it. The more Matrix-like stuff gets, the more we decide to merge with technology, and just the more technology enables us to fall into this real life matrix that we're seeing. We're seeing the very beginning of the matrix being built in the technological sense, that is, right? The more this happens, the more people like us. Awesome. Thank you, by the way, for those of y'all who said you're digging it. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The more this happens, the farther we go down this techno-totalitarian rabbit hole, right? Unplugged Choctor is the best. Glad you're liking it, Andreas. The more this happens, the more folks like us are going to be forced to wake up. So it's actually a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of all the insane stuff that's happening on the planet right now, what it's doing is it's forcing us to awaken. And we need that. We need to be forced into awakening. If you, let's say, for example, you have somebody who, if you're going down the wrong path in your life and you have somebody who's addicted to drugs or gambling or video games or, whatever it could be, right? Then you have some sort of life event where something major and terrible, quote unquote, happens, right? Where maybe a person could OD, right? Or maybe some guy is so addicted to video games that his wife leaves him and takes the kids, right? Wake up call. You know what I mean? And we all have this happen. We all have these unfortunate life events that serve as wake up calls. That's normal. And again, whatever it is, some people are addicted to substances, some people are addicted to cults, weird culty religions, who knows? It could be anything, you know what I mean? It could be also working. A lot of people are workaholics. They work so much that they neglect their children. Anyway, doesn't matter what it is, but I'm just giving this as an example of like something bad happening and there being sort of a wake-up call. So humanity is getting a wake-up call. Humans, we tend to learn through sometimes brutal circumstances, unfortunately. Now, I personally do my best. Thank you, Mohammed. I personally do my best as a person, as an individual, to remember that there are other ways to learn other than getting like kicked in the face by reality, by the universe, by God, whatever term you want to use, right? But humans, we tend to need these like hardcore, intense, punch in the face kind of lessons, because those lessons are sometimes the most powerful, that we learn very powerfully through that. And right now, humanity is going through this on a collective level. There are forces that have been manipulating and controlling us for a very freaking long time. And we are coming to terms with just how much manipulation and control there has been for a long time, And in a sense, we're doing this to ourselves. That's a whole other metaphysical level. If you believe that we are all one consciousness, and in a sense, we are really doing this to ourselves. So it's perhaps not that bad, but that perspective may not resonate with everyone. And if it does or doesn't, that's totally fine. Not that important, but just saying, I believe personally that we are all one consciousness and we are literally doing this to ourselves. So there you have it. But regardless of all that, we are waking up en masse because we have to. It's no longer an option. Things that used to be optional, that used to be luxuries, like self-care, for example, since the pandemic started, since all this craziness started 2 years ago, these things are no longer luxuries. There's a guy named Lee Harris, spiritual teacher, English bald guy. I mentioned him before, but couldn't remember his name. But Lee Harris, he says self-care is no longer a luxury, right? Doing things like taking herbs, taking other nutritional supplements, eating the right food, exercising. And I'm guilty. I haven't been exercising nearly enough personally. So it's a reminder to myself. But exercising, getting sunlight, connecting with the earth, having more face-to-face conversations with people and less social media. I'm also guilty of that 100%. I need to do that. I've been overdoing social media myself. So calling myself out here, but all of these things, they're increasingly not luxuries. They're not like, oh, that would be nice. In order to stay functional and not just fall apart, we have to do this stuff now, guys. We do. We have to take care of ourselves as much as possible, and across the board. You know what I mean? People like Thich Nhat Hanh, rest his soul, who passed away today, at the ripe age of 95, which is awesome. By the way, I do wonder if Thich Nhat Hanh, if he lived to 95, I wonder if, obviously, I'm sure his lifestyle was quite clean and his diet was clean and all that. But I wonder if just being a very peaceful human being and being in a relatively peaceful state of consciousness most of the time probably slows down the aging process, I'm guessing, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Just going to put that out there. 95 is pretty good. A lot of people don't make it 95. But anyway, Thich Nhat Hanh was amazing. And I just thought it was kind of funny that I happened to be in this sort of ordinary mood today when I found out, Thich Nhat Hanh passed away today. And because he is a symbol of peace, equanimity, nonviolence, right? The transformation of anger into something that is actually helpful and beneficial. And of course, it's all about transformation. It's about alchemy. I refer to myself as an alchemist. I call myself the East-West alchemist, right? That's my term for myself because I like to combine the East and the West. I call myself an alchemist because at the end of the day, it's all about transformation. Alchemy is transforming lead into gold, metaphorically speaking. And I don't want to be a source of fear for anyone. I do believe that shit is going to get worse in 2022 in a lot of ways. I think that stuff is going to get way weirder. Almost all the different psychically aware spiritual teacher type folks who I follow have literally every single one of them has said that. Every single one of them is like, 2022 is going to be even more of a shit show than the last 2 years. So, and I hesitate to say that because I don't want to freak people out and I don't want to spread fear. That's the last thing I want to do. But let's put it this way. Things do need to get a little bit worse before they get better, but they will get better. I really do profoundly believe they're going to get better. Things are going to improve. Humanity needs this massive wake-up call, but a lot more people are going to have to get even angrier and even more freaked out before we can make this collective transformation, this collective evolutionary leap forward, right? That's going to happen, So, be prepared. Don't live in fear, but be prepared, My mom is amazing. She, for Christmas, she bought me and my sister and herself. She bought various kinds of survival equipment for us. You know, I've got a solar generator now. I've got a few other cool little nifty gadgets in case we lose power, in case the shit hits the fan. You know, it's just good to be prepared, guys. And again, it's not about living in fear, you know, just about being prepared. And as they say, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, which is apparently a funny, it's a funny thing that I'm told that insurance salesmen used to say back in the 50s or something. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that's true of, whatever kind of survival equipment you need. Stock up on extra food, extra supplements, extra, had to work in the supplements, right? Extra gas, equipment, propane, you know, whatever it is. Not a bad idea if you can make it work with your budget. Don't do it in a fear-based way where you think the sky is falling. Just do it in a way. It's good to be a little bit of a prepper. Not saying you have to build an underground bunker and, you know, devote your life to it, but it's good to be a little bit of a prepper. Not a bad idea, you know? If you can, I know money's tight for a lot of folks, you know. If you can afford a few thousand extra dollars to dedicate to some important preparatory items, not a bad idea. But anyway, back to the main point. So if you're one of the people watching this, and if you are feeling any anger, stock up on chalk. I like how you're thinking, Nikki. That's hilarious. End of the world sale. Chalk, 90% off. No, I'm just kidding. I think we'd definitely be losing money on 90% off. But anyway, but yeah, you know, like if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you are feeling any anger right now about what's happening with this thing and with all of the other weird things that are happening with, say, things that are maybe a little bit more totalitarian than they need to be, then I would just ask yourself this question: how can I use this anger in a way that is constructive and not destructive? And again, a lot of the time when I'm doing my rants and my videos, of course, I'm also talking to myself. So right now, saying this to you guys, that's another question I have for myself is, how can I take whenever I do feel frustrated about what's happening in the world, how can I take this and how can I use it in a way that is positive? For me right now, one of the ways of me doing that is hopefully I can say things to you guys that are maybe at least somewhat helpful, where I'm not letting anger and frustration get the best of me to the point where I'm just spreading fear, but rather just saying things that might be helpful or inspiring other people. So it's an emotional alchemy. Have you ever had a time when you felt spontaneously really sad, but part of you kind of enjoyed it? Where you're like, I feel sad, but somehow this sadness feels good. Isn't that weird? You know, sadness is typically considered not a pleasant emotion, right? Of course, sadness can be very, very unpleasant. But there are also times when you can feel sad and you can be like, well, you know what? Like, this sadness actually feels kind of good. I kind of like this sadness, right? There's something very real about sadness. You know, if you've been just kind of like la-di-da, having fun and just, you know, enjoying everything and super happy for a while, sometimes that happiness is not as real. Sometimes it'll make you overlook things that are important. And sometimes the sadness is actually driving you more into your authenticity and your reality, right? So it's funny hand movement. I don't know why I need to do this, but that sadness sometimes is driving you into a deeper level of reality and authenticity within yourself and a core level of your being. So, if you're feeling angry, frustrated, sad with what's happening in the world, then just know that there is a way to alchemize and transform all of that. The last thing you want to do is suppress any of these negative emotions. Obviously, labeling them as negative is kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of right, but it's also kind of wrong to do that. But, oh yeah, Sam mentioned the movie Inside Out. That's an awesome movie. Brilliant, brilliant movie. Love that movie. Yeah, for sure. Great for kids and for adults. Yeah, beautiful movie. Absolutely. But yeah, so we can alchemize, again, alchemy, turning lead into gold. The lead of your anger, your frustration, perhaps, if you're one of the people, maybe not everybody watching this, but if you're one of the people who's watching what's happening in the world, watching the totalitarian tiptoe, watching people getting completely brainwashed, mind controlled, manipulated, the mass formation, right? People who are relatively smart falling for hypnotic mind control based techniques, doing things that are not in their best interest, going along with Nazi-like policies that are absolutely not okay. If you're watching this and you're one of those people getting frustrated with that, but just know that there is a space in which you can transform all of that into something that is helpful. So again, it's not about letting your anger take you over and doing things that are uncool and just constantly pointing the finger and saying this group is bad, this group is wrong, I hate this group. It's not about that because, of course we're going to do that sometimes. We're human. Let yourself do that. But it's about acknowledging, I have this emotion, there's a reason for this emotion. It's maybe justified to some extent, and it potentially can really help me in certain ways if I allow it to be beneficial, and if you can let the anger put a fire under your ass to communicate things that otherwise you'd be afraid to communicate that you need to communicate, that's helpful. You know what I mean? If you're somebody who wants to spread awareness about some of these things that are happening, but you've been afraid of being judged, sometimes getting a little bit extra pissed off is going to help you actually speak your authentic truth and to stop caring if people get upset or judge you from having your opinion. That being said, it's not like we have to tell every single person online and every single person who is a friend or family member everything we think about politics and this and that. There's a time to also just leave it alone, But at the same time, though, yes, there are reasons why we feel this way. And sometimes having a fire under your ass is a really good thing. I personally have at different points spoken out about a lot of this stuff in social media type spaces. And even though I've lost a few friends over it and I've started some shit for sure, I've also had other people say, oh my God, thank you for actually speaking your mind. I've been afraid. I've been self-censoring. I've been afraid to talk about this. I'm really glad someone's talking about it because, you can encourage other people to do it. I've seen other natural medicine practitioners, other natural doctors and nutritionists online speaking out about this stuff. And I have told them, and these are people with huge followings, much larger than mine, which is nothing, but huge followings. And I'm like, thank you so much for, actually having the courage to talk about this stuff. That's amazing. And yes, you could argue that it's causing more divisiveness to share your opinion about the jab, share your opinion about all sorts of, controversial topics. And perhaps it is, but at the same time, this is a time when, silence is actually betrayal, I believe. Martin Luther King said there comes a time when silence is betrayal. I'll tell you a little story, and I'll just be completely real here. This is basically getting into unplugged territory, but maybe I'll just keep this video up. I'm going to tell you guys what happened to me last year. This is pretty crazy stuff. Little personal story here. So I had a family member receive this thing and immediately had some very, very negative consequences. Within minutes felt really bad, almost turned around and went back to the clinic because she was afraid she might not make it home. She felt so bad. Within a few days, she measured her blood pressure. It was sky high. And by sky high, I mean not just high blood pressure. I'm talking about like what they call hypertensive crisis. And this is a person who has a history of severe cardiovascular problems and has been in a good place, stable with her cardiovascular health for a while, but was completely destabilized by this thing. So I got pretty upset because I literally was thinking for a little while there, this might be her undoing. This might actually take her out, might kill her. And I get pretty mad. In fact, I think that's the most mad I've been in quite a while. Yeah. My family, there's a history. My sister actually has had major permanent lifelong damage from a particular medical intervention that she received when she was 1 year old. And yeah, this was the point at which I was just like, wow, I basically kind of lost my shit. I was like, wow, this is not okay. Absolutely not okay. And up until that point, this is when I was still on Facebook. I'm not even on Facebook anymore. But up until that point, I had been staying out of it on Facebook for the most part and not doing too much. And I just completely went for it. I just went crazy. And I started posting as many articles, as much information on this topic as I possibly could. And oh man, did I kick a hornet's nest. I had a few closer friends get upset with me. Most of my close friends were not, but a few of them get upset with me. I had quite a few acquaintances get really mad at me. People who were my Facebook friends, but who I barely know in real life or have only hung out with like 4 times, ever. And things got real weird. In fact, it got so weird that I ended up deleting my Facebook account, which honestly, I think is a great thing anyway. I think my life is better without Facebook. I am still on Instagram, but it's a little bit less crazy than Facebook. I personally think it's lower drama. I prefer it. I'll probably get to the point one day where I'm not on any social media, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. But yeah, so anyway, so I ended up just deleting my Facebook. But before I did, oh man, it was a lot of fun, and it was also very stressful. Things got real crazy. But yeah, so thank God she ended up being okay. She had to get on literally 3 new medications. She had to have cardioversion therapy to get her heart back in rhythm because she went into cardiac arrhythmia. Her blood pressure was literally, the top number, the systolic, was over 200. It was like 220. Bottom number was like 140. So, here, somebody's asking about Instagram. It's, I'll just type it in for you right there. But anyway, Dr. Matt Dorsey. But yeah, anyway, so long story short, though, I was pretty mad. Things got better. I'm happy to report that she is actually good now. It took quite a while. It took a whole bunch of different interventions, both natural and not natural, to get her heart back in rhythm, to get her blood pressure down. And she is pretty much good now, thank God. We have an integrative cardiologist for her as well, who also told her I would not get the second one. He actually told her that after hearing what happened. So she actually was following her doctor's advice by no longer getting any more of these things. So anyway, now, what's the point of me telling you guys that story? Well, I consider myself a lot of the time to be a fairly chill dude, and I think I'm usually slow to anger, but I do have times when I do get intense, and you know what? We need to be able to be monsters on occasion. Jordan B. Peterson, for example, right? Like, so we have this whole weird movement where we're trying to feminize all men and trying to get men to act like women, right? And if you're naturally a guy who just happens to naturally be a more feminine person or whatever, whatever, like that's whatever works for you as an individual, whatever balance of masculine and feminine energies works for you, all good. I'm not saying you should be some way that is not natural, but there is a weird movement, and CHOQ is very aware as a company. There's a weird movement toward toward men being feminized. And on the endocrine level, we have chemicals in the water, such as atrazine, for example, which I've written about in multiple blogs. Tyrone Hayes, look up Tyrone Hayes, atrazine. We have glyphosate, we have BPA, we have all sorts of compounds that reduce fertility and also increase estrogen, in the sense that they actually mimic estrogen and bind to estrogen receptors. They're not necessarily increasing your body's synthesis of natural estrogen. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're called xenoestrogens, Xeno estrogen, xenoestrogen, right? These are chemicals that bind to estrogen freaking receptors. They throw off your whole balance of testosterone and estrogen and different hormones, right? And They have a feminizing effect. Now, that's on the endocrine level. And again, whether this is being done on purpose or not, I know a lot of y'all probably think it's on purpose. Maybe some people don't. I still have not personally done enough research to say for sure if this is being done on purpose or if this is an accident. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe it's a mixture. I don't know. But again, y'all listen to Shane or Alex Jones or anybody else for comment on whether this is part of some master plan or not. I don't know. But what I do know is that for sure, whether it's depopulation or whether it isn't, again, that's not my area of expertise as much. I haven't done as much research into the intent behind this stuff. What I have done research in is the actual mechanisms and how this stuff interacts with the mind and body, the human mind and body. And yes, these fake hormones in the water certainly do absolutely have a feminizing effect on us, right? Which makes men less masculine, right? Makes them more feminine. Now, at the same time, we have within certain political cultures, we have this weird tendency to blame everything on the patriarchy. Everything is all men's fault. And I'm not saying that a lot of dudes have not done a lot of bad stuff in history. Obviously, all the dictators who've ever existed have all been men. Does that mean that men are evil? Of course not. There are lots of women who are also, not very nice. But we have this weird in certain political cultures on the weird ultra woke side of things. And again, I'm an independent, so I'm not even taking sides politically. I'm just saying, like, we have on this weird woke bullshit side of things, we have this idea that that masculinity is like inherently toxic, that being a dude and enjoying shooting guns or enjoying sports or enjoying, I don't know, monster trucks, whatever kind of typical dude stuff that dudes like to do is somehow bad, and that you're part of the patriarchy if you do that. And men, a lot of men are feminizing themselves by being afraid to be men, right? And then we're seeing this backlash of people just getting, of a lot of men getting really pissed off about that. And, it's not helpful, obviously. To just have this total opposite thing of just like, well, now I'm going to be just an angry man all the time because you told me I can't. You know what I mean? But anyway, long story short, though, there is a weird movement toward feminizing men. And then also I think a lot of women have felt that in order to compete with men, they have to be more masculine. And, obviously both men and women can have masculine and feminine qualities, right? If we go to Jungian psychology, we have the anima and the animus. I don't know how much you're all familiar with that. Anima and animus, right? Which is the anima is the feminine archetypal aspect of the man's psyche, and the animus is the male archetypal aspect of the woman's psyche, right? So the anima and the animus. Now, if you are a man with anima possession, then some of the worst qualities of femininity you're going to embody. And if you are a woman with what's called animus possession, some of the worst qualities of the most destructive qualities of the masculine archetype are going to trap you, or you're going to embody those. So we have these weird imbalances, right? Now, obviously the endocrine system, to come full circle to what I started saying, is we are in these physical bodies. We do have hormones. We do have neurotransmitters. Our way of expressing ourselves in the world is partially based on our nervous systems and our endocrine systems. We're also more than that. We also have a certain amount of free will. We have soul connection, right? We have a will. There are things that also transcend biology. I always bring that in to counterbalance it. So I'm not just a materialist, obviously, but I am a student of physiology and a natural medicine doctor. And so obviously I think in terms of physiology a lot of the time. But yes, so we have a lot of men thinking that they have to feminize themselves, right? And again, we all have a different balance. You could see there, one dude over here could be like a super manly man, a man's man, right? Who likes hunting and fishing and, whatever. Another dude over here might be, less like that and more chill. And that's, who's to say it's not about being right or wrong. We all have different personalities. Oh, it looks like we got some spam in here. Okay, you're going to be removed, Mr. Spam person. Not cool, man. Yeah. You're getting reported unwanted commercial content or spam. Bam. And also here, I'll tell you guys too. This is interesting. I can feel my own testosterone levels fluctuating from day to day. And of course, like I've told you, I have personally overdosed myself on testosterone boosting herbs because I'm my own guinea pig. I learned through experience. All good herbalists do. I have purposely taken too much Tomcat before to see what that feels like, just for the heck of it. And you know what? There is a such thing as too much testosterone. If you've ever had to deal with a 16-year-old boy, you know there's a such thing as too much testosterone, right? Too much T can make you into an a-hole. Not enough T is just as bad. I did an article. I'm going to find it for you guys right now. The many faces of testosterone. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, it was really eye-opening. And, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably heard me talk about this article way too many times. But for those of y'all who haven't, check it out. Many faces of testosterone. They did research where there were guys where their T was lower than optimal, right, on the lower end. And they actually became more irritable, right? So what's interesting is, so let's say here's the sweet spot of testosterone, right? If you're below what's optimal, it can make you irritable. If you're above what's optimal, it can also make you irritable. So too much or too little T can make you into an a-hole, right? Andreas, glad you liked the article. I've had times, for example, I'll give you a funny example at a party one time. I went to this party and it was very weird. The guy who put the party on stopped the party and turned it into like an impromptu lecture where instead of having a good time, he was just telling us about his personal life and connecting it to his business. And it became like this really weird commercial thing. And he made everybody really uncomfortable. Anyway, he's not a bad guy, but it was just super awkward. Everyone was like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I had been working out a whole bunch at the time. I'd been lifting weights. I felt like I had been, I'd taken all the right supplements, eating extremely well, lifting extra weights, right, pumping up. And I could feel my testosterone levels were like, pretty dang high. And of course, I'm not a violent person at all. I don't get in fights. I don't start fights, nothing like that. I'm very much a non-violent person. But I could feel myself at this party actually wanting, like, there was a part of my like monkey brain that was like, I kind of want to punch this guy. You know what I mean? Like, and of course I would never, ever do that. That's not who I am. Again, not a violent person. But there was, my monkey brain with all that testosterone in my system was like, yeah, this guy needs to get his ass kicked. You know what I mean? And it was just funny because I'm an aware enough human where obviously, like I said, I would never, ever do that. But I'm an aware enough human where I was just like introspecting and like being like, wow, my inner like 18-year-old is like ready to like attack. You know what I mean? And I more just turned into a reflection on, aren't hormones fascinating? You know what I mean? So yeah, if you are though, I mean, let's just say theoretically you want to control a population and make them more adherent perhaps to certain kinds of totalitarian edicts, then I think it would behoove you to ensure that perhaps many of the people are deficient in testosterone because they're going to be less willing to push back and they're going to be more willing to comply. Now, is this being done on purpose? I have no idea. Again, I'll leave it up to Shane. I'll leave it up to Alex Jones. I'll leave it up to like different folks out there who want to comment on this stuff. I don't know, but I do know that theoretically, if you wanted to control the population, that yes, it certainly would make sense to drive the testosterone levels down, right? I mean, clearly there's the whole fertility aspect too. That's a whole other thing, but I'm just talking about behavior, state of consciousness, willingness to fight back. And again, I personally am nonviolent. And I always like to say, I personally think that, it's all about spreading awareness and nonviolent protesting. So I'm not about actual full-on violent, nothing like that at all. I don't endorse that. And of course, on to today, the day that Thich Nhat Hanh, famous Buddhist pacifist, passed away, of course, But the thing is that people like Thich Nhat Hanh and Martin Luther King, Gandhi, they were about non-compliance, non-violent non-compliance, right? And it takes some testosterone. It takes some cojones. And again, I'm not just talking about men. Women need testosterone too. Women also need T. It's not just about dudes. If your T levels are low as a woman, that can affect your focus, your motivation. That can affect your ability to be sort of like to push through something. You are going to be more susceptible to getting stuck in a frustrating situation and less willing to push yourself out of it if your T level is low as a woman as well. And we all have natural different dispositions, and one person's normal testosterone level or whatever could be different baseline from someone else's. But I mean, within what's normal for you, you know what I mean? Within what's physiologically normal for you as an individual who has a particular constitution, we are all different. So this isn't about trying to say that every man has to be Superman's man, aggro, hunting, fishing, etc. We're all different. Whatever vibe you vibe with is cool. I'm into the idea that we are all very unique. We have unique expressions, unique constitutions, right? But what I'm saying is, though, on a population level, if you were to say, for example, decrease the overall amount of testosterone, you would find that the population would be more compliant. So maybe this is being done not on purpose. Maybe this is an accident, but can you blame people for thinking it's on purpose? And again, I'm not saying it is on purpose or it isn't. I'm going to absolve myself of any responsibility of trying to figure that one out. Maybe it is, maybe it is. I have no idea. But can you blame people for thinking it's on purpose, right? I mean, the fertility crisis is very real. I'm going to do some more blogs and some more videos on that. I think probably after Stay Human episode 2, which is, by the way, a week from today, after Stay Human episode 2, I'm probably going to do a whole video series just on hormones and the fertility crisis and all of this kind of stuff. Because obviously this dovetails hugely with one of CHOQ's deepest passions, which is to support hormonal health in people. Because there aren't a lot of supplements companies out there who are actually openly talking about this, how this is a big problem. You know what I mean? I am very fortunate to work for a supplements company, one of the very, very few. There's a few out there, not many, who actually acknowledges we have a major issue here, guys, and we need to support our endocrine systems however we possibly can. And we also need to let guys know it's okay to be a man. It's okay. That's perfectly fine. You as a man or as a woman, you can express yourself however you want to, whatever makes sense for yourself, but don't be something you're not. You know what I mean? If you want to actually be a dude and do dude stuff, don't be ashamed of that. You know what I mean? And if you want to be a dude and, do feminine things, that's cool too. I mean, whatever you want to do as a more libertarian minded person, I'll just tell you, everyone has the right to express themselves and to be whatever they want to be and whatever makes sense to them. But there's weird cultural institutions that are pushing people in a certain direction that is not natural, and where people are feeling like they have to suppress who they are. That's not cool. And a lot of people, of course, this is also on the endocrine level. We don't know this is being done, right? And so you might think that you're a certain way, but if you were to actually start eating clean and getting the chemicals out of your body, right, and taking the right, herbs and things like that, you might find that all of a sudden your baseline hormonally is completely different. I think most women know how much hormones affect behavior because obviously you have the cycle, right? And you can feel how you feel different at different points in the cycle. But it's like this for men as well. We don't have a monthly cycle, I think we probably have some kind of cycle that is still hormonal. It might be more like several months. I don't know. It's less predictable with men, and it's less profound because obviously we don't have, the whole menstruation thing is very intense, huge hormonal fluctuations. But we are all very hormonally dependent. And if you become more of a guinea pig self-experimenter and you try different things, you're going to find that. So, for example, I have an older friend who has been doing testosterone cream, and I don't blame him. Like, whatever. I'm not saying, whatever you want to do. Obviously, I prefer the natural route for stuff. But doing testosterone cream, and I would imagine if you were older, he's not that much older, but let's just say you had somebody who's a lot older. Let's say you have a 60-year-old man, and that 60-year-old man, his testosterone is like practically non-existent, and then you give that man a whole bunch of T shots or T cream, testosterone cream, right? That dude's going to feel like a different person. Massive personality changes are very, very possible with that. You know what I mean? So, just something to reflect on. At the same time, though, again, I kind of saying it like ad nauseum, we are also more than just bodies. There is a movement to get us to think that we are just bodies and we're nothing else. This dovetails with all of the stay human stuff, all of the weird technology stuff, the techno-totalitarian tiptoe. And that movement is trying to get us to identify as only biological machines and nothing else. You ever watch these shows? Like, I've become obsessed with Black Mirror. Definitely check out Black Mirror. It is profound in ways that I can barely even put into words. Black Mirror is one of the most important shows that has existed in years, because it is a series of cautionary tales of what could happen with technology and the negative effects it might have on us. Now, one could argue with shows like Black Mirror saying, or The Matrix or whatever it is, that, that's just all fear-based and we're putting bad, negative ideas out there. At the same time, though, you need these cautionary tales. We need these cautionary tales. But I'll give you all, I don't want to call it a homework assignment because that's weird, but I'll just tell you guys, if you have Netflix or whatever, watch Black Mirror. Watch any of the episodes of Black Mirror, but there are quite a few. And you'll see, I don't know if there are any new ones or not. I'm not really sure. But there are these weird beliefs by people who are technologically inclined, and they think things like this. Now, this is completely irrational and batshit crazy if you ask me, but there's a lot of people who literally think that you could upload your consciousness digitally into some sort of giant computer mainframe, not have a body anymore, your body can die, and somehow you're still going to exist inside of this giant computer. Does that make any sense to you guys? That you could upload your consciousness into a computer and you could live in there forever? That sounds pretty stupid to me. You know what I mean? I mean, what would actually happen is that you would die, you would be gone, your soul would go wherever it goes, and then there would be some copy of your brain that existed in a machine, but your consciousness would not be in that computer. And yet there are millions of people who legitimately believe like this could be real. Like some machine could scan your brain and then could somehow, by scanning your brain, transfer your consciousness into some giant virtual reality computer system where you could live forever. And yes, Dark Mirror, Black Mirror, Chocolala, Black Mirror is dark. And some of the shows are extra dark, so if you don't enjoy that, I get it. But at the same time, I think it's a necessary thing. We should never turn away from the darkness because we're scared of it. We should study it so that we understand how it works and so we can avoid it. You know what I mean? And also integrate the darkness that exists inside of us. That's more on the Jungian level. We have a shadow. We all have darkness within us. That's not who we are ultimately, but on a psychic and incarnational level, we all share a certain amount of this darkness, and it's up to us to integrate it as well and not to pretend that it's not there. But yes, Black Mirror is it is kind of dark, but yeah. So there was this episode I was watching. I forget what it's called, but the episode has this virtual reality space where people who are very old and who are in nursing homes can wear this headset and they can go to this VR space that interacts directly with their brain, where they kind of just do this. And then they go into this place where they can hang out as young people at like bars and dance clubs and have fun with other geriatric people who are in, nursing homes waiting to die. Right. So all these people who are like 90 years old, who are in nursing homes, and they're in very poor health and they're going to pass away soon. And of course, it's way more fun if you're a very old person. Obviously, you can't blame these people. I mean, I would probably do it, maybe at least a little bit. Going into this, escaping into this virtual reality space, and everybody looks really young. Everybody there is super old, but they all look really young. And it was a really interesting show. I forget what it's called again, but it's you know what? I should actually just find it for you guys. Because I actually found it on a list, best episodes of Black Mirror. This is a really interesting one. I'll find it in like 2 seconds probably, because it was one of the top rated of all the Black Mirror episodes. What is it called? It is called, almost there. It's called San Junipero, season 3, episode 4. San Junipero. That's the name of it. Yeah, really awesome. By the way, actually, since we're on Black Mirror, I'll tell you right now, Nosedive, if you're only going to ever watch one Black Mirror episode, watch Nosedive. Must watch Nosedive. That's the one about the social credit system. And if there was ever a Black Mirror episode that was extremely relevant and extremely appropriate regarding what's literally already happening in China and what they're probably going to try to roll out in the West, hopefully not America, but maybe the social credit system, that episode is all about the social credit system. When that episode first came out, China wasn't doing this yet, or if they were, we didn't know about it. And so when that episode first came out, it was pure fiction. And it has literally come to pass already. So yes, watch Nosedive. It's amazing. All about the social credit system. But yeah, so anyway, this was a fun rant, guys. I'm going to probably finish up here pretty soon. Let's maybe give away some prizes. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And let's just make it simple. Let's just give away one big prize today. Yeah. By the way, just so you guys know, if y'all haven't heard yet, we are going to be giving away prizes only once a week now. Wasn't purely my decision. That was a decision made by the CHOQ team. We were giving out a huge number of prizes. And unfortunately, it just got to be a bit much. So we're going to be doing it once a week at random. It's not going to be every Friday. I'm going to randomly pick a day each week to give out prizes. But we haven't done it this week yet. So we will be giving out prizes today. And just to make it real simple, I'm just going to give away like one big grand prize today instead of doing multiple ones. So this is going to be 3 of any CHOQ products plus 1 bag of cow beans. So the timer has begun. You have 1 minute to get your single 2-digit number in. But yeah, so Friday nights are fun though. I'm glad we got to make this one a little bit more ranty, a little bit more real, a little bit more unplugged, a little edgier. I always enjoy these. I like talking about supplements and natural health too, but I was feeling extra passionate today. Obviously also a little ornery, right? Extra passionate. And I just feel like, might as well make it work. Might as well get her done. So yeah, there we go. All right, let's see here. We have 13 seconds left. So make sure to get your final answers in, everybody. You are almost there at the end. So if you haven't gotten your answer in yet, also, please make sure you are only giving one. Oops. Please make sure you're only giving one submission because everyone only gets one entry. And the number was 50. So who good? Nikki Wee is 49. What else we got? Nikki Wee, I believe you might be the winner here. Nikki Wee, let me just make sure. Nikki W-I-I. Yes. The number was 50. So, yep. Nikki Wee is the winner. 3 of any chalk product plus 1 bag of cacao beans. All right, let me just report that to our lovely customer service ladies so that they can make sure that Nikki gets some free chalk there. Congratulations, Nikki. Great job. All right, let me just see here. Customer service. Today's winner was Nikki Wee. 3 of any product plus 1 bag of cacao beans. All right, awesome. So there we go. Congratulations, Nikki. But yeah, this was super fun. By the way, if you have not smashed the like button, as they say, yet, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind, all those do help us. So if you're enjoying this content and you haven't hit the like button yet, I sure would appreciate it if you did hit the like button. Thank you very much for being here, guys. These rants are always fun. I did my best. Like I said, I kind of started in like an interesting headspace today, just feeling a little bit ornery, a little bit frustrated, but did my best to try to turn it into really just passion. Because really, at the end of the day, that's a lot of anger and things like that. It's just passion, right? And there's nothing wrong with having passion. It's good to have passion. So it's also good to be equanimous, like Thich Nhat Hanh sometimes too, and just peaceful and chill. So all modes are acceptable. It's all about having a good emotional transmission and being able to be in whatever gear you need to be in to achieve your life's mission in accordance with your Akashic records and soul contracts and whatever you believe in. So love you guys. I will see y'all next week. Until then, don't forget to stay human.